Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem Kakadash. Yahweh been the name of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shah been the name of His only begotten Son, who they ignorantly called Jesus Christ. Now, when you look at these last days that we living in, and you see how these elites and these Edomites is moving, you gotta understand that these prophecies gotta be fulfilled, and the ones that's gonna fulfill the prophecies is the people with power. See, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans in the ghetto ain't got no power. See, they can't use their race as any kind of power grab, because they don't got no power. See, when you got power, then you can use your race and say, okay, now I'm gonna use my power to elevate my race. And so this is how the whole situation is gonna go down. But you got the people not understanding this, plus you got pork chop pastors, Salakia. You got pork chop pastors talking about some antichrist. Some antichrist, that's the beast. The beast is not an antichrist. The beast is spelled out in Revelation, spelled out in Daniel. The fourth beast was a kingdom. See, a kingdom is not an antichrist. See, you had four beasts in Daniel 7. Daniel 7 talked about these four beasts. And so these beasts was kingdoms, because when you look at the statue that Daniel was breaking down, he put all of the kingdoms in a statue form. He said the head was the kingdom or empire of Babylon. The chest was the Medes and the Persians. Then he got down to the feet and he said the thighs was the Grecians, the so-called white men, and the feet was the Romans, the so-called white man, and these Americans. So he brought it down to not some antichrist coming out of nowhere, changing everything that's going on. No, it's the fourth kingdom was gonna change pretty much the elements of the world, and they was gonna try to exterminate everybody. When you look at Matthew 24:21, it says, except he cut the time short, there will no flesh be saved. So that fourth kingdom, they was the ones ruining the earth. Well, that's Revelation 11 and 18, I think. They was the one destroying the earth and ruining the earth, because they was also in Revelation 6 and 4, where they could take peace from the earth and kill one another. Fighting World War I, World War II, dropping bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima on the Japanese. See, these individuals got the power. They got all the corporations. It's a documentary on YouTube called The Corporation. And it shows how these individuals can create these businesses and hide their identity. And say we got shareholders and other people are part of the corporation, and we gonna hide who we are in this corporation. And so this is how the Edomites operate. Then in Jeremiah 49 verse 10, it say Esau will try to hide himself. See, the nation of Edom they would do all things trying to hide themselves. It talks about them being the man of sin in 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter. The man of sin and the son of destruction. See, that wicked. And it don't say the wicked, it say that wicked, meaning it was a people known as the wicked. Azariah, the letter of a prayer of Azariah in the Apocrypha, the 9th verse, it say that these Edomites, these rulers of the world that took the Israelites into captivity, they would be the most wicked in all the earth. God forsakers, haters of God. See, and these individuals was broken down in Daniel as the 4th kingdom. They would devour and break into pieces all other nations and all other kingdoms. They would be different from all the other kingdoms. They would be diverse. See, because they share their power with these other nations so they can hide themselves. See, they was a nation that was going to hide themselves by allowing these other nations to act like they got some power, to come to the United Nations meeting, and while they're in the meeting, it's making it seem like they delegating power with the other nations. But at the same time, they bullying all the nations. An example of that, when you look at the bank system that they started, where they have their faces on all their currency. That bank system has banks in every nation. It's like 2 or 3 nations that these Edomites bank system don't have. They don't have a bank system in North Korea, supposedly. They don't have a bank system in Iran, supposedly. You see, that's just 2 major countries that they don't supposed to have their currencies roaming through there. But if you got the whole world with your banks and all of the nations of the world, you don't need them 2. Them 2 gonna have to bow down to you, because them 2 depending on food and resources coming from other nations. Iran is not a self-sustained nation. They still gotta be diplomatic with these other nations around them so they can get products. That's why they teamed up with Russia, the Russian Edomite, because the Russian Edomite is against the power, the main power of the West, which the elites of the Edomites, they dealing with America, or they started dealing with America and let America be their stronghold. That's why it calls Basra. Just like a state has a capital, and that capital is the stronghold of that state, or a fort is a stronghold over the army military base. That's a stronghold. You got to take over the military base to defeat the army. That's what's going on with these with the Basra, what it's talking about in Jeremiah 49, where it says the Lord would come over Basra with wings like an eagle. You see, and he's coming to destroy these Edomites. The wise men of Edom, or the mighty men of Edom, their hearts would be like the heart of a woman in travail, a pregnant woman. See, when they see Yahushua hitting them clouds and come into this atmosphere and make his grand entrance, they gon' piss their pants, how we say in America. See, they gonna be like a woman, but her water break, and she holding her stomach, and then she in pains. See, that's how these mighty men of Edom is gonna be. They're military. See, the reason that they have a stronghold over the earth, and they easily identified because they have 800 military bases. See, the Americas has 400 to 500 military bases just in America alone. But then when you go to the other countries, they have almost 200 to 300 military bases outside of America, holding down the power. Then you got Russia and China with like 30 something military bases. They can't compete. Them 30 military bases is not even a competition for Russia, but Russia is staying afloat because they have created them a weapon. And they stuck with a liquid type of nuclear weapon. They're using the liquid form. See, the America, they went with the I guess some different kind of form where you can't fly it into a missile. You have to drop it and use it in a different way. So Russia, by sticking to this kind of missile, which they call Satan 1 and Satan 2, a hypersonic missile, pretty much putting a nuke on a rocket. See, they stuck with the nukes on the rockets, where they can shoot this rocket going about 4,000 to 6,000 miles per hour, and this rocket can make it to their enemies in a matter of an hour or 30 minutes. So now, America, with all of its military bases, they can't make the wrong move with Russia. They walking on eggshells with Russia. And so, this is how you pretty much can see how these Edomites, they're in total control. The only opposition to the Edomites is other Edomites. That's why I say Satan. How can Satan's kingdom stand if Satan is against Satan? See, they got 100% of all military bases. There's no Hispanic nation that got a military base. See, there's no Hispanic nation that's in total control over their army. It's just like in those Hispanic countries, they are like a franchise. They depending on the main corporation, which is the Edomites, to supply them weapons, gunpowder, bullets, planes, tanks. See, they depending on these other nations to buy their products. Even the Iranians and the North Koreans, they depending on these Edomites, because in Revelation 6 and 4, it says that Esau was given a great sword. See, that great sword was going to allow Esau to rule. What's that? Romans 13. He said, there's no power but of God. Any power that's out there is ordained of God. And then when you go down to the 4th verse, it say, he don't carry this weapon in vain, this sword. See, this great sword is not in vain. This great sword is to make him rise in power. What's that? Revelation 9, verse 17. He compared Esau with Pharaoh. He said, I'll raise thee up. He said, the same thing with these Edomites is just like what I did with Pharaoh. I'll raise them up so I can show my power and glorify my name in the earth. And so this is why you got the Edomites on top. Plus, in Genesis 27 and 40, he said he was going to get him a sword. He promised Esau himself, because Esau wept to Isaac and said, Isaac, please bless me, even bless me also, my father. So Isaac blessed him. And the main blessing he gave him was that sword. You was going to rule by the sword. That's why you got these so-called Amalekites and so-called people in the Holy Land. They saying, or they peoples making all kind of movies and cartoons like He-Man He-Man had the sword, this magic sword, because it was a spiritual sword. It was bigger than just having a sword. It was connected to the spirit. And this magic sword was going to allow him to be powerful. That's why he made the statement when he pulled out the sword. He said, I have the power. You see? Because he was going to be powerful with this sword. And so this is how the Edomites ruled. Then they had another cartoon coming out of a different place of the Edomites, but they all rule Hollywood. So he said the Thundercats had a sword of omens, and see that omens go back to fate and prophecy. See, that omens goes back to fate and prophecy. So it was always understood, even by the Edomites, that they have this sword, they have this military, because the Lord has gave them this. This is a spiritual thing. Nobody can defeat them. That's why when they was defeating the Native American Indians, they said the manifest destiny. It was their destiny to rule. It was their destiny to take over this land. It was their destiny to slaughter the Native American Indians. See, it wasn't by a mistake, it was by destiny. And so this is how these people hide themselves, because this is not being taught in these Christianity churches. See, they done signed the 501c3, and the 501c3 telling them, do not talk about politics. Do not talk about nations, dealing with nations. You can quote the verse about nation gonna rise up against nation, but you got to talk about government. You got to talk about an antichrist who gonna rise out of nowhere. One of these politicians who gonna rise out of nowhere. No, it's not a politician that's gonna rise up. It's not one man that's gonna rise up. It's a nation that had already been risen up. What you got? Daniel 4:17. He said, I set up the kingdoms. See, this is for the living, that the living may know that the Most High is the ruler of the kingdom of men. See, he set up the kingdom, and he set up this base man who is the nation of Edom. He set the man of sin up. See, that goes back to Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter. 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, where it talks about he sent this strong delusion. This man of sin, this son of destruction, was going to be a strong delusion to the people that didn't want to believe the truth. And so, when you got these Edomites, they hiding themselves. He got them hiding themselves and moving with all deceivableness and with all lying wonders. You see, they lying on another level. See, and those who don't want to believe the truth, it's going to be a major lie out there, a strong delusion out there. Once they reject the truth and say the so-called white man wrote the Bible, and we not dealing with that Bible, we not dealing with God's words, then they fall victim to that strong delusion. And this is what's going on. But he's going to use these Edomites. That's Psalm 17 and 13. He's going to use them as his sword, as his hand, as his whipping stick to get these Israelites. What, Amos 9 and 10 say that all the sinners of my people shall be killed by the sword. Who is the sword? ESAU. He's that great sword that the Lord is using. He's the hand and the sword of the Lord to use to kill the 2/3 of Israel. And Russia is going to be one of the main people to put these blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans out of their misery for their disobedience. Isaiah 34 say this, they're going to be a great sacrifice in Basra. It's going to be a great sacrifice in the United States of America when the Lord send these troops on these blocks to get these people who was in disobedience. He not sending a bunch of angels, you see, to fight with these humans. See, he gonna let them go with the enemy that they love, the enemy that they wanted to ask him to save them instead of asking God, the enemy that they trusted. Because he said, cursed be man that trusted in man. So they trusted in the so-called white man, and he gonna send the so-called white man that curse, because he said the Edomites is the people of his curse. He gonna send them to destroy and slaughter these rebellious, stiff-necked Israelites. And that's why you always hear out of the white man's mouth, we can't wait till we can just start slaughtering these Negroes wholesale. See, they say they let it be known they can't wait. The police department let it be known. We cannot wait till we can just go gung-ho on these Negroes, blacks, and Hispanics, and Native Americans. We can't wait for this situation to pop off. We ready for it. You see, they try to fire the people and take the people's jobs, but they can't. They just gonna go to a different police department and change their identity and hide themselves like their forefather Esau and their forefathers did. They hide all of the artifacts that prove that the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. They hide all the evidence. See, that's another part of that lying wonder. You wonder, how can they hide all of this evidence of a people that ruled in a certain land? And how do people look? How can they hide this stuff? See, that's a wonder. And so the military is going to come and they're going to battle with these Israelites. It's not going to be any pity on these people either. When they come, they coming with new weapons, robots. They got robot dogs they coming with. Because these Negroes going to rebel and fight against the princes and the kings. Meaning they going to fight against the Edomites when the food run out. When the grocery store don't got no food. See, they going to rebel. When they making these mandates that you got to do this or do that, they going to rebel. See, and the Edomites, through the Lord, they burning up all these food plants, food production. They burning down the buildings, wholesale. See, not one or two, 13, 20, 30. How many plants that they got, they burn them down. They killing the animals. So they creating this evil, this bad situation, this bad time. So the prophecies of the Lord is going to be fulfilled. And wicked Negroes that want to love and trust man